This is the only photo that existed of him. A mugshot. From 1989. He was 23 years old. For the next 35 years, as he built the most powerful drug cartel in the Western Hemisphere, responsible for the bulk of the fentanyl, cocaine, and meth entering the United States, nobody got another photo. No current face, no satellite image, nothing. $15 million on his head. The DEA's #1 priority. And a ghost. On Sunday, February 22nd, 2026, the Mexican military finally found him. Not through decades of surveillance, not through a rival's tip, not through some technological breakthrough, through a woman who visited him at a cabin in the mountains. This is the story of El Mencho, who he was, how he built an empire from nothing, and how it all ended in a helicopter over Jalisco. By Friday, February 20th, Mexican military intelligence had something they'd been chasing for over a decade: a location. They had been tracking a courier connected to one of El Mencho's romantic partners. That courier led them to a private cabin compound near Tapalpa, a small town in the highlands of Jalisco, 2 hours from Guadalajara. The woman was driven to the compound. She spent the night. When she left the next morning, intelligence confirmed what they suspected. El Mencho was still inside. But before we get to Sunday morning, there is one detail that makes this story more than a military raid. June 26, 2020, Mexico City. Omar Garcia Harfuch, the head of Mexico City's police, is driving to his morning briefing. Routine morning. Black SUV, bodyguards. Then armed men block the road. They open fire with .50 caliber machine guns, rifles, and grenades. Garcia Harfuch takes 3 bullets. Both bodyguards are killed. He survives. From his hospital bed, he tweets, "We were cowardly attacked by CJNG." El Mencho ordered that hit. Fast forward 6 years. Omar Garcia Harfuch is now Mexico's Federal Secretary of Security, the top law enforcement official in the country, and on February 22nd, 2026, he is the man who signs off on the operation that kills El Mencho. The man El Mencho tried to assassinate became the man who ended him. Sunday, before dawn. The operation began. Special forces moved in on the ground. 6 helicopters staged in neighboring states. Air Force surveillance overhead. El Mencho's guards opened fire. 4 cartel members were killed at the compound. El Mencho and 2 bodyguards fled into the forest. Special forces followed. Found him in the undergrowth, critically wounded. Rocket launchers and armored vehicles seized from the scene. He was airlifted to Mexico City. He died on the way. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, 59 years old. In the hours that followed, Mexico looked like a country at war with itself. But before we get to that, who was this man? Because nothing about El Mencho makes sense unless you understand where he started. Born in 1966 in Aguililla, Michoacán. Avocado fields, dirt roads, no running water. He dropped out before finishing primary school. By 14, he was guarding marijuana plantations. By his early 20s, he crossed illegally into California. What followed was a simple pattern: arrested, deported, came back. Each time deeper. In 1989, a narcotics arrest produced the only mugshot that would exist of him for the next 35 years. In 1992, he and his brother were caught in Sacramento after a heroin deal with undercover police. $9,500 worth, handed over at a bar. He spotted the setup, but they were arrested anyway. He pleaded guilty to reduce his brother's sentence, 3 years in a Texas prison. Then deported to Mexico for the last time. And here is where the story takes a turn that sounds almost absurd. He reportedly became a police officer, convicted felon, multiple deportations, drug trafficker, and now a cop in Jalisco. It tells you everything about how El Mencho operated, always on both sides of the line at once. He didn't stay a cop long. By the late 1990s, he was a full-time enforcer for the Mencho cartel. then his most strategic move. He married Rosalinda González Valencia, sister of the cartel's leadership. He rose fast, one number to understand what comes next. By 2019, just 10 years after founding the CJNG, the DEA estimated his cartel was responsible for at least 1/3 of all drugs entering the United States. 1/3 of an entire country's drug supply. He built that by doing what El Chapo never did. Where Guzman operated through corruption and spectacle, El Mencho built through terror and invisibility. He shot down a military helicopter. He reportedly never met most of his own associates in person. He moved constantly through the mountains, never staying anywhere long enough. Until a woman drove to a cabin in Tapalpa. Within hours of his death, roads across Mexico were on fire. 20 states, burning buses, blocked highways. U.S. Embassy shelter-in-place advisory for 5 states. Delta, Alaska, American Airlines, Air Canada, all cancelled flights. 25 National Guard members killed in Jalisco alone. 252 roadblocks confirmed nationwide. This was not grief. This was a coordinated military-style response, executed across an entire country within hours of a single death. But here's what most channels won't tell you. While Mexico was burning, the CJNG launched a simultaneous disinformation campaign, flooding social media with false reports. Videos spread claiming the Guadalajara airport had been taken over by assassins. It hadn't. The cartel's real weapon after El Mencho's death wasn't guns. It was social media. And then came the accusation that went viral across the entire Spanish-speaking internet. A narco banner was hung from a bridge in Zapopan, Jalisco. It named a specific person as responsible for El Mencho's death. Not a soldier, not a government official. A 25-year-old Mexican influencer known as Baseball Barbie, Maria Julissa, with 3.5 million followers. The banner, signed by the CJNG itself, accused her of betraying El Mencho's location. She denied it immediately. Mexican authorities have not confirmed any connection. Whether she was involved or not, a cartel publicly naming someone on a bridge in Jalisco is not just an accusation. As of this recording, her safety status is unknown. Here is the uncomfortable truth. El Mencho's death changes everything and almost nothing. The CJNG is not built around one man. It is structured like a franchise across roughly 90 organizations. You can remove the founder. The franchise keeps running. His son, El Menchito, life plus 30 years in a US prison, ordered to forfeit $6 billion. His wife arrested in 2021, released in 2025. His daughter also imprisoned in the United States. His entire family neutralized. And still, the cartel operates. The Sinaloa cartel will move on territories. Regional groups will see opportunity. Security analysts warn this transition could tip toward narco-terrorism, the same pattern that turned Colombia into a war zone when Escobar fell. And here is the detail that reframes everything. The previous Mexican government, under President López Obrador, had El Mencho in their sights at least twice, with full US intelligence support ready to act. They chose not to strike, deliberately. The calculation: the violence that would follow his death would cost more than keeping him alive. President Sheinbaum made a different calculation. Think about the arc of this one life. Born in an avocado village nobody has heard of. By 5th grade, done with school. By 14, guarding marijuana fields with a rifle. By 20, running heroin in California. By 30, convicted, deported, back again. By 40, a cartel enforcer with a body count. By 50, the most powerful drug lord on earth, responsible for 1/3 of the drugs entering the United States, with assets estimated at $50 billion. By 59, dead in a helicopter over Jalisco, bleeding out while special forces flew him to Mexico City. No Netflix documentary, no celebrity trial, no book deals. He stayed invisible on purpose, and that invisibility was both his greatest weapon and his only legacy. El Mencho is gone. The CJNG is not.